I believe I am live. I am trying to get live over on Instagram too. So we shall see. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited about this conversation tonight. I am Nicole Roan, your favorite capacity coach, and today you are joining me for Capacity Conversations. So I'm streaming all over the place. I believe I am on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. I believe you should be able to leave comments, so I'll do my best to try to get to those comments. But I want to go ahead and jump right in. So, again, I'm Nicole Roan, your favorite capacity coach, and we're talking about capacity, right? And if you are wondering what capacity is, what I describe it is as your time, your energy, your resources that you really have available to manage all the moving parts and competing priorities between your personal and your professional life. And so today, I really want to talk a little bit about how knowing better isn't enough, right? How many times have you said or heard, well, when you know better, you do better, right? I've heard it, I've said it. It's something that, most of us play over and over in our minds. Again, whether that's in your personal or your professional life, whether it's you trying to lose weight or you trying to be a better parent, if it's you trying to get a promotion or to grow your business. Oftentimes, yes, when you know better, the goal is for you to do better, right? But the truth is, just because we know doesn't mean that we always do. And so I want to challenge you to really, really think about that phrase. And I want to share from my own experiences, my clients' experiences, my sister friends who I know are probably here as well. There's a really big difference. I always say that knowing is half the battle and that you cannot fix something you do not face. And just because you know how to eat healthier or you know how to manage your money doesn't mean that you always do it. So let's get into this conversation about how do we actually get from knowing into doing. And so I want to share a couple of ways, again, that I've used in my personal and professional life, that I've used with my clients. And it's about really doing some action, right? And so the first way that you really, really can get from that knowing better to doing better is for you to prioritize your priorities. And I know that probably sounds funny, but prioritizing your priorities is just that. And one of the things that I do on a regular basis, I'm brain dumping all of my priorities. I'm brain dumping them based on, the different hats or titles that I have. So I'm a woman, first and foremost. I'm a woman of God. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a big sister. I'm a friend. I'm an employee. I'm a business owner. I'm a house manager, right? I'm a money manager. I'm all of these different things. And so we always have these competing priorities. And when you're trying to actually do better instead of just knowing better, you got to understand what your priorities are. And so for me, that looks like, again, brain dumping on a regular basis for me to get all of the things that I think I need to do or that I feel are my priorities and putting them on paper, right? And when you prioritize your priorities, you are literally helping to organize your brain, but you're also giving yourself a chance to really look at all those priorities and determine what's essential and what's important. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more throughout these lives and on the podcast, but really everything that is important is not always essential. And I know some of y'all might not want to hear that. Yes, it's important for me personally to have coffee in the morning so I can get my day started, but it's not essential. Some people might disagree. It's borderline. It's borderline. But it is essential for me to get enough sleep, right? It's not essential for me to sit and listen to one of my friends tell me about the relationship she's been in for 15 years and she's tired of it. It's important for me to be able to hear her and, hold space for her, but it's not essential, right? Our friendship is not going to be based on whether or not I'm able to have a 45-minute conversation with her. So when you prioritize your priorities, you're literally determining how you're going to spend your time, your energy, and your resources. That's just one of the many, many ways that you can go from knowing to doing. Because I don't know about you, but I'm in a season of I'm not just going to know better, I'm actually going to do better. And it's funny because I think it was last week, I want to say, I posted something that said, I believe it's in my Facebook community, in the Flow and Flourish community. So if you're not part of that, make sure that you go on over to Facebook and you become part of that community. But I said that, my tagline for a while has been, when you flow effortlessly, you flourish tremendously. But we forget that to get to that effortless part, it requires some effort. So yeah, you're going to have to put some effort in on the front end, on the back end. And one of the things that I'm diligently working on in this season is my health, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all of those things. And it requires work. I can't just know better. I can't just know that I need to get up and go to the gym. I have to do better. So how do you do that? You prioritize it and you set yourself up for success. For me, that looks like going to bed early, right? That looks like putting my phone on do not disturb after 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, right? It looks like getting up and getting out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, even when I don't feel like it, even when it's raining, even if I tossed and turned all night. It's about setting myself up for success. So if you truly want to live a life where you're able to flow effortlessly, please don't get it twisted. You have to put in some effort, okay? So number one is to prioritize those priorities. That's how we go from knowing better to doing better. The second one, and this one is huge. The second one is to get some accountability partners. I'm going to say that again. The second one is to get some accountability partners. I am so grateful for the sister friends that I have in my community, some that are in my backyard, some that are across 15 states. Being able to be in a space with like-minded, like-hearted women who get it, who understand that you have goals and who are driven, right? Who are trying to do either similar things or, that can support you. That accountability is key. I have some accountability partners that, are going to be joining me at the conference, and I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. But the accountability partners literally are like a mirror for me. They hold up in my face what it is that I said I wanted to do, what I was going to do, what I'm planning on doing, and hold me to that. And sometimes when you're trying to achieve all these things and you're trying to go from knowing better to doing better, you can get overwhelmed, so overwhelmed that you just do nothing. And oftentimes for me, it's so much better and so much more helpful for me to, whether it's to send a text like, hey girl, can you talk? Cause I'm feeling a little stuck. Or, having these regular meetings where I'm having to look at those goals. I'm having to look at what I said I was going to do 2 weeks ago. Did I really do it? Right. And so getting accountability partners is going to really shift things for you and take, whether it's your business, your personal life, if you're trying to lose weight. I keep saying that because that's a big thing for me in this season. Whether you are trying to save more money, if you are trying to release unhealthy relationships, you have to verbalize that and not just to yourself. So get you some trusted accountability partners that can support you. I know I was going to talk a little bit about how to get those. So I'm going to just give you a few little snippets of how I've been able to get some of those accountability partners. Can I tell you a secret? I'm going to tell you a secret. You got to be vulnerable, right? You have to be vulnerable. And for me, that looked like putting myself in places and spaces that I wasn't used to being in. Now, I know during COVID, many of us, we became online gurus, right? We were, connecting on Facebook. We were joining group coachings, and I was doing all of those. And from that, I got vulnerable enough to say, hey, you know what? I really need some sister friends in my circle that can help me bring some of these goals to fruition. Because most of the time, whatever it is that you're working on is bigger than you, right? So really, to go from knowing better to doing better, you have to put yourself in circles where people are going to be able to pour into you. So one of the things that you can do is, of course, come on over to the Flow and Flourish Facebook group, where there are 200 plus of us, right? We're like-hearted, like-minded. All of us are juggling competing priorities and trying to figure out how to do this thing called life. Because as you know, and as most of us are probably saying now, life gets to lifing, right? And so when that happens, having accountability partners who get it is essential. It's not just important for me, it's essential. And so you can find accountability partners in Facebook groups, in your local community. There's a million and one different groups that you can be part of, whether it's Facebook, whether it is on LinkedIn, whether it's on Instagram, all over the place, but something that speaks to you. Because also many of the podcast episodes that I've been on, that came from me being vulnerable and putting myself in a space and raising my hand and saying, I need help. I'm connecting. I'm needing to connect with people. The third thing that you can do, and I don't keep this one last for a reason, but I'm going to say this. I prayed, right? I prayed for God to send in people that I wouldn't have to over-explain stuff to. People who were driven and motivated like me, people who could pour into me and that I could pour into as well, to really trade resources. Because if you are in this entrepreneur space, or even, as a leader in your organization, you know that there's no I in team, right? And so being able to connect with women and be in these communities where you are literally surrounded. The only reason you fail is if you choose to, because the people around you who are your accountability partners are not going to let you fail, right? They're going to hold you accountable. They're going to say, and I got a good one. Listen, y'all going to get to meet Latika in August here in Chicago. I got to be careful about what I say I want to do around her. And if you listening, hey, boo, I love you. I have to be careful, because she gets out her pen, she gets out her paper, and I kid you not, every year when we do our business strategic planning around September, October, she pull out that notebook and she say, well, capacity coach Nicole Roan, you said you wanted to do this, and this. And I'm like, man, I did. And even when we meet on a bi-weekly basis, we're able to go over those things. So I know I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but I want to tell you how vital it is to your success, especially if you're in a season of, I'm tired of just knowing better and information hoarding or information gathering. I'm ready to, move the needle and do better. Making sure that you're prioritizing your priorities and making sure that you have really amazing accountability partners is going to help you to do that. So let's talk about number 3, right? I gave you 1, I gave you 2, and now we're going to talk about number 3. Number 3 should come as no surprise to anybody. I talk about it all the time. You hear about it all the time. It's probably oversaturated, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's self-care, right? In order for you to know better and then do better, you absolutely have to practice self-care. And I'm going to be doing a live in a couple of weeks about how self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And I mean that because all too often we hear you can't give from an empty cup. Or I've even said things like, oh, we need to get less stress and more rest. And all of that sounds cute, right? But the reality is most of us are running around, not getting enough sleep, taking care of everybody else. We are filling up everybody else's cups. And then when it comes time for us to be able to have the capacity, the time, the energy, the resources to show up for ourselves, we're tapped out. And most of the time that comes from being the one, right? The one in your friend and family groups, the one at work, the one just everywhere. You are the go-to or the GOAT, right? You're the go-to that everybody calls on. And so you have to be able to practice self-care in order for you to have sustainable success, in order for you to be able to just move from knowing into doing better. And there are a couple of different ways that you can practice self-care. Now, let me be clear. I'm not just talking about going and get your nails done or going to go get a massage or, Netflixing and spending the weekend laying on the couch. Those things are definitely part of my self-care routine. But I'm talking about the deep inside heart work, which is also the hard work, right? It is giving yourself, first of all, pausing long enough to figure out what's going on, right? What do I need? What do I want? What are my goals in this season? But then giving yourself permission to shift that, right? That's self-care. Pausing long enough to figure out what it is that you want in this season, because many of us are running around and we are holding on to values, to goals, and things that we outgrew seasons ago, right? If you're not going to keep clothes that you could fit 6 seasons ago, why are you going to keep the same values, right? And I'm not talking about your core values. Yes, most of us value family. We value trust. We value being able to provide for our families. We value friendship, fun. But every season is different. I know that because I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in my accountability partners and my sister friends. I've seen it with my clients. I've seen it with the employees that I support, right? So being able to pause and identify what you really value is what's going to help you get to the next level. So that's a form of self-care, that deep self-care that I was talking about, the inside stuff. It's an inside job. Another form of self-care that I practice on a routine basis that I recommend to everybody is to put it on your calendar, right? So for me, I always and consistently am booking 1 weekend a month where I am not anybody's wife. I'm not anybody's mom. I'm not a business owner. I'm not an employee. I'm not a house manager. The cape comes off, the hats, the titles come off, and it's about me reconnecting with myself. And so it's funny, but it's not funny. I'm going to say it anyway. I've told my household that, if the house is on fire, don't call me. Call 911 because they're going to be able to get to you faster than I can. Because this self-care, this time by myself is me having that moment to pause and think through, what it is that I value, what it is that my goals are. But it's also a time for me to really, really try to rest, because who here ever rests, right? That's foreign, especially when you are a high achiever, a high performer. If you're high functioning, you're always on the go. You probably are thinking about the things that you have to do in your sleep. And so as women, I know our brains are always on. So rest is sometimes kind of rare. And I want to change the narrative on that, right? I want us to be able to practice self-care consistently. I want us to be able to partner and connect and get in community with women who get it. And I want us to stop knowing better and start doing better. And everything that I've talked about so far are the 3 things that you can do. So I'm going to tell you again, in case you were not taking notes, number 1 is going to be to prioritize your priorities. So make sure that you're brain dumping, and then you're literally prioritizing what it is that you wrote down based on what's essential and what's important. And then I also want you to get your peoples, find your tribe, find your people, get in the spaces and places where people are going to be able to pour into you and you're going to be able to pour into them, because everything that I've been able to do over these last couple of seasons have been because I have accountability partners in my corner. Lastly, practice self-care regularly, right? And so again, that's not just going and getting your nails done. It's not just, eating your favorite ice cream. It's about pausing long enough to figure out what you want, for you to think about what's working and not working and where you want to go. And it's about getting rest. And it's about putting it on your calendar. Because if you are anything like me, if it's not on the calendar, then it's not real, right? So I want to encourage you to Practice all three of those things. And I also want to invite you, of course, to the inaugural capacity conference that is happening in Chicago, August 1st and 2nd, because we're going to be talking about all of these things and then some. It's 2 days of workshops, panel discussions, networking, where we're getting together with these like-hearted and like-minded women, literally who get it, who've been there and done that, who have gone through the challenges of life in while running a business, while being a mom. And we're going to be sharing our tools, our resources, and our strategies with you to be able to have capacity in this season to show up and be who God called you to be, to have that thriving business. We're going to be talking about how to set boundaries, going to be talking about how to manage your money, because if you've been following me, or even if you're new to me, there are 5 different pillars of capacity. And when just one of those areas or pillars are off, then everything else is off. So we're going to be focusing on your values, on your boundaries, on time management and priority management, self-care, work-life balance. It is so much. So I want you to make sure that you go and get your tickets before they sell out, because listen, they're going like hotcakes. Today is actually T minus 30 days. We got 4 weeks until the conference kicks off. So I would love to see you in the building so that you can come get the tools and the resources to take control of your life. Our theme is healthy habits, healthy people, healthy resources. Or I'm sorry, healthy people, healthy habits, healthy businesses. And when you have those healthy habits, you're going to become a healthier person, and then you're going to be able to run a healthy business. So I'll be back here once a week, probably for the next 6 to 8 weeks, doing these capacity conversations, because they're conversations that I know I have in private, but need to be said out loud. And so make sure that you are liking this, you are sharing this with other women in your life that need to hear it. And if you have questions, you know how to reach out to me. I thank you for tuning in to this version of Capacity Conversations, and I will see you here back next week.